Welcome to the Yamaha Garage. Thanks for joining us today for some useful service information and technical tips on maintaining your Yamaha TT-R230 trail bike. Today's video is going to cover one of the most important and frequent maintenance tasks, how to properly check and change your TT-R's engine oil. Maintaining the correct oil level and performing regular oil changes are, of course, extremely important, but it's not the only critical maintenance task to keep an eye on. To ensure your TT-R keeps running strong and maintains that legendary Yamaha reliability, make sure to keep up with the full maintenance schedule. You can find the handy checklist in your owner's manual, Chapter 7, pages 7-3 through 7-5. Before we get to the oil change, let's begin with a couple quick TT-R tech tips. First off, after every ride, it's very important to turn the fuel petcock lever to off. Most of today's ethanol fuel only has a shelf life of approximately 90 days. So if you're not sure when you're going to ride again and you think the bike may sit a while, turn the petcock off while keeping the bike idling in a well-ventilated area until it runs out of gas and shuts off on its own. This will drain fuel from the carburetor. Just remember to turn the petcock back on the next time you go to start it. Give it a few quick turns of the starter to get fuel back in the carb, and be sure never to crank the engine more than 10 seconds at a time. We also recommend that you treat your fuel with Yamalube Fuel Med RX. We've extensively tested Fuel Med, and when used regularly, it can keep fuel fresh for up to a year and also keep your fuel system free of corrosion or performance-robbing buildup. Finally, if you can't get out and ride your TT-R regularly and it's going to sit for 30 days or more, we recommend tending to the battery with an appropriate battery maintainer. We use the NOCO Genius in our shop to keep our variety of batteries charged and ready. You can buy a NOCO and Fuel Med RX at your Yamaha dealer or online at yamaha-motor.com. For more details on these tech tips, see our video on care and storage. Now back to the oil change. When we look at the owner's manual, we see that Yamaha specifies the initial break-in oil change after 30 hours of running time or 1 month of use, whichever comes first, and then every 90 hours or 6 months of use after that. Note, Yamaha also recommends checking the engine oil level before every ride. We'll be showing you how to do this a little later in the video. So, why are regular oil changes so important? Simple. Clean oil is the lifeblood of your engine. Clean, fresh motor oil creates a film on the internal engine parts that reduces friction, heat, and abrasion on critical moving parts like bearings, rods, and gears to keep your engine running cooler. It keeps parts clean by suspending contaminants to prevent internal corrosion, and it creates a seal for strong combustion and reliable performance. When you change your TT-R's oil on schedule, you are taking the most proactive step you can to reduce engine wear and preserve the life of your dirt bike. So now that we've taken care of the when and why, let's get on with the how. Expect an oil change on your TT-R to take just a little over 40 minutes to complete with a Yamaha difficulty rating of 1 wrench, or easy to do. Let's get started. Before conducting any type of maintenance, we always want to be sure to start with a clean machine, since we definitely don't want to introduce any outside dirt or a foreign substance to the internal parts of your engine. Let's keep the dirt on the outside. Luckily, that brings us to our next tech tip. Yamaha has you covered when it comes to clean with a full range of Yamalube quality care products. The most effective way to safely remove dirt and grime is with YamaClean Pro Wash Spray. It's safe for the surfaces of your TT-R, it rinses clean, and it's biodegradable. What about stubborn oil, grease, and other muck that's hard to wash off the metal parts? Yamaha has you covered here as well with our Yamalube External Engine Cleaner. It's great at cutting through hard to remove grease. Finally, want to make the cleanup even easier next time? After every wash, apply Yamalube YamaCoat plastic coating to the underside of the fenders and plastic body parts. It helps inhibit adhesion, so mud and dirt rinse right off. All clean? Great. Now let's make sure we have everything we need to successfully complete this regular service. For our oil change, we'll need 2 quarts of Yamalube engine oil. For most conditions other than extreme hot or cold temperatures, we recommend using Yamalube 10W40 HP high performance full synthetic in the gold bottle. And the following tools and safety equipment: a ratchet with 19 and 8mm sockets, a 5mm Allen tool or socket, a Phillips head screwdriver, torque wrench, funnel, oil pan, clean shop towel, gloves, eye protection, a strap, and your owner's manual. And why Yamalube? Because we're going to spare you from venturing down that "what oil should I use" rabbit hole of online debate. There's no second guessing here. Yamalube was formulated in close collaboration with Yamaha engine designers, not only to meet industry standards like JASO MA, but to meet the exact demands and operating characteristics of your Yamaha engine. In other words, nothing enhances the performance or protects the advanced design of a Yamaha quite like Yamalube and Yamaha genuine oil filters. Make sure to check out our Yamalube videos to learn more of why it's the go-to oil for your TT-R. To begin your oil change, warm up the engine by letting it run for a few minutes outside or in a well-ventilated area. You can quickly touch the engine case for a check. If it's warm to the touch, you're good to begin the service. Turn the engine off. Before you start work, it's always important to make sure your bike is securely parked on a level surface with wheels chalked or transmission put in gear to reduce the chance of it rolling. I like to just squeeze the front brake lever and use a strap to secure the brake on. Place an oil pan under the drain bolt on the lower left side of the engine to collect the used engine oil. To allow the oil to drain more quickly, remove the engine oil filler cap. You never want any debris or foreign material to accidentally go down the filler tube, so put the unscrewed cap loosely in place in the filler hole. Nothing but Yamalube should enter your engine. Before removing the drain bolt, know that behind the bolt cover area are 3 parts: a spring and an oil strainer, which are reused along with an O-ring. Take care not to lose these parts. We'll show you how to properly install them in a minute. We like to keep removed bolts and parts in a magnetic tray so they don't get lost or damaged, and we always know exactly where they are when it's time to reinstall. Now, knowing what's behind the bolt cover, loosen and carefully remove it with a 19mm socket and ratchet. Catch the parts and let the oil drain into your pan. If the spring and strainer do not come out with the cover bolt, simply reach in and remove them with your gloved hand. Remember that engine parts in the oil will be hot, so be careful. With the crankcases drained, we'll reinstall the cover bolt in a few easy steps. First, clean the cover, spring, and strainer with a clean towel or some brake cleaner if needed. Also wipe the crankcase cavity dry with a towel. Note, do not spray cleaner into the crankcase. Then inspect the O-ring carefully before slipping it over the threads of the drain cover bolt. Of course, replace it if it's split or damaged. Place the strainer inside the spring. With the strainer end first, slide the assembly into the crankcase opening. Carefully thread the cover bolt onto the bike. Be sure not to cross-thread it. The cover bolt should turn on with very little effort. Hand tighten the cover bolt and then, using your torque wrench, tighten to 32 pound-feet. Using a torque wrench is essential for proper mechanical service and repair. See our video on torque wrench basics to learn how to properly use a torque wrench like the one we have here. There are several different types of torque wrenches, so get one of these very important tools and familiarize yourself with its use. Your TT-R230 has a serviceable oil filter element, rather than a replaceable cartridge. It requires cleaning with each oil change. You can find it located on the right side of the engine behind a cover held on by 2 8mm bolts and 1 5mm hex bolt. The lower, small 5mm hex bolt acts as a drain bolt and should be removed first to drain the oil filter cavity. Have your shop towel ready, as some oil may dribble out. Remove the remaining 2 bolts and note their orientation, as they are different lengths, with the longer bolt going in the upper right slot. If the cover seems stuck, just give it a light tap with the handle of your screwdriver. With the cover removed, pull the element out and clean it with solvent like Yamalube brake cleaner. Be sure to carefully spray from the inside out first, so debris is moved off and away from the screen. Reinstall the filter the correct way, with this end going in first toward the internal engine. To avoid leaks, check the O-ring on the cover and the small O-ring seated in the crankcase where the 5mm hex bolt is received. Replace if necessary. Fit the cover on the engine and carefully hand tighten the 3 bolts in a cross pattern again, being careful not to cross thread. Remember, the longer bolt only fits in the upper right. Once hand tight, finish by torquing the 2 8mm bolts to 5.2 pound-feet and the 5mm hex bolt to 7.4 pound-feet. With the drain cover bolt and oil filter cover tightened and torqued, it's time to get a narrow funnel and add your Yamalube through the filler opening. Since we removed the filter, we'll add 1.16 quarts, which calculates to 37 ounces. Here's an often overlooked convenience. Did you know Yamalube oil bottles come with a handy liter and ounce measurement scale on the side to help you pour an accurate quantity? There's also a right way and a wrong way to pour oil from your Yamalube bottle. Pour with the slant side down for a smoother pour and less spilling. There you go. A couple more reasons why Yamalube is awesome. The engine oil in your TT-R also lubricates the clutch. So in order to prevent clutch slippage, do not use automotive oils with friction reducing additives or add any chemical additives. Just use Yamalube engine oil and you'll always be sure to have the right blend. As mentioned, the oil capacity after a filter clean is 37 ounces. Begin refilling by adding a full quart of Yamalube, which is 32 ounces, and then open the second quart and carefully add 5 ounces from it. With the 37 ounces of Yamalube added, check the filler cap O-ring for wear and damage, and of course, replace it if needed. Install the filler cap and snug it hand tight. Clean around the filler cap and drain bolt area of any spilt oil using a clean towel and a spray of Yamalube brake and contact cleaner if needed. Now let's verify that the oil level is good. The engine oil level needs to be checked, certainly after every oil change, but also make it a habit to check it before every ride. There are a few simple steps to checking the oil level of your TT-R230. Warm the engine oil by letting the engine idle for a few minutes in a well-ventilated area. While it's warming, check for any visual oil leaks. Of course, shut off the engine and correct the issue if there is one. When the crankcase cover is warm to the touch, the engine oil is warm enough to shut off the engine and begin the oil level check. Wait a few moments for the oil to settle, and while you're waiting, safely secure your bike from rolling by placing it in gear or wrapping a strap around the front brake lever. You'll also need to plan for briefly standing your bike straight up. You can carefully balance it yourself, or you can always ask a friend or family member to sit on it or hold it for you. With the bike secure and upright, look at the check window on the bottom right side of the engine. The engine oil should be between the minimum and maximum level marks. If low, adjust the level by slowly adding small amounts of Yamalube and continuously rechecking until it's raised to the correct level. If it is too high, carefully loosen, but do not remove the drain bolt and slowly drain oil until the proper level is achieved. It's common knowledge that a low oil level can cause engine damage, but too much oil can cause issues too, such as oil blowby and leaks. Excess oil can also be forced into the airbox and can cause poor running and damage, so be certain the oil level does not exceed the maximum level mark. And remember, you should always check the oil level after the engine has been idling for a minute or two, then given a few minutes to settle. After checking the oil level and reinstalling the filler cap, there is one last step in properly changing the oil in your TT-R230. You must verify there is oil pressure, and it's really easy to do. Find the bleed screw on the right side of the cylinder head behind the spark plug and loosen it. Start the engine in neutral and let it idle until you see a little oil seeping out. Seeping oil verifies you have the necessary oil pressure. While the engine is running, verify there are no leaks from any of the drain points, then shut off the engine. Carefully tighten and torque the bleed screw to 5.2 foot-pounds. Spray a little Yamalube brake and contact cleaner on the area to clean any residual oil away. And be careful not to touch the engine or exhaust header as it could be hot. While checking the oil pressure, if you don't see any oil seeping from the bleed screw at all, try loosening the bolt more or wiping a paper towel around the bolt to witness oil on the towel. If still no oil can be verified seeping from the bleed opening, turn the engine off immediately and contact a dealer. Congratulations, you successfully completed a Yamalube oil change and oil level check on your TT-R230. Great work. Note that a Yamaha Technical Academy Gold Tech always cleans his tools and puts them back in order after every job. And one last important step. Always remember to dispose of the used oil in an appropriate, environmentally safe manner. You can either take the oil to your nearest Yamaha dealer recycling center or ask your local auto parts supplier if you can drop it off there. Thanks for watching, and make sure to check out the Yamaha YouTube channel for more do-it-yourself videos and technical tips. Now let's get out and ride.